Ladies and gentlemen, you don't need motivation. You need discipline. Motivation is a feeling. Discipline is a decision. If you're waiting to feel like doing it, you're already behind. See, most people set goals based on what they believe is possible, not what they actually want. Discipline over motivation. It's a truth that separates winners from wishers, doers from dreamers, builders from talkers. Motivation is fleeting. It's a spark, a feeling, an emotional high that gets you excited. But excitement doesn't build empires. Excitement doesn't carry you through the grind. Motivation might get you started, but only discipline will keep you going when everything around you is saying quit. The problem is that most people chase motivation like it's the secret ingredient. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect energy, the perfect mindset. They scroll through videos, read books, attend seminars, hoping to feel fired up. And for a moment they do. But what happens when that moment passes? When real life shows up with its pressure, pain, and problems, that's when motivation packs its bags and disappears. And if motivation was the only engine you had, now you're stranded. That's why discipline is everything. Discipline is the muscle that moves even when the mood says no. It's the voice in your head that says, do it anyway. You wake up tired, do it anyway. You don't feel inspired, do it anyway. You failed yesterday. Show up again. Discipline doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about your future. And here's the thing. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. It's forged through repetition, through making the hard choice over and over again until it becomes your new default setting. It's choosing the gym over the couch, the work over the distraction, the purpose over the pleasure. And every time you do, you strengthen your identity as someone who follows through. People talk about wanting success, but they don't want the sacrifice that success demands. They don't want the boring, unglamorous grind. Discipline lives in that grind. It's not sexy. It's not flashy. It's not social, media-worthy, but it's effective. It's the early mornings when no one is watching. It's the late nights when everyone else has given up. It's the quiet commitment to excellence, even when there's no applause. Motivation is external. Discipline is internal. You don't control what inspires you, but you control what you do. You may not feel like writing today, but you write. You may not feel like making those calls, but you make them. You may not feel like sticking to your diet, but you do it anyway. Because discipline isn't about how you feel. It's about who you've decided to become. The challenge is that we live in a world that rewards instant gratification. Everything is fast food, fast money, fast fame. But discipline plays the long game. It delays gratification. It says, I'll skip the pleasure now for the promise later. And that's hard because your brain is wired to want the reward now. But when you train yourself to delay it, to push through the temporary discomfort, you unlock levels of success most people never touch. It's not that successful people never feel lazy or uninspired. They just don't surrender to those feelings. They've conditioned themselves to keep moving regardless. They've installed discipline like a system. It's not emotional anymore, it's habitual, and that's the goal, to make your discipline automatic, to remove willpower from the equation by building routines that support your growth. This is why your environment matters. Surround yourself with systems that remove friction. Create rituals that make it easier to stay disciplined. Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Block distractions during deep work time. Plan your meals ahead. These small acts compound. Discipline isn't always about grand heroic effort. It's about consistent small actions that align with your bigger goal. And don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for clarity. Don't wait for the right moment. You act your way into feeling. You act your way into confidence. You act your way into success. Action fuels motivation, not the other way around. You don't sit around hoping for inspiration to strike. You move, you build momentum, you force yourself to follow through. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. You build self-trust. You become someone you can count on. And that's powerful, because if you can trust yourself to follow through when it's hard, when it's inconvenient, when it's not fun, you become unstoppable. Build systems that force action. That's the key to consistent success. Not willpower, not passion, and certainly not waiting for the perfect moment. Systems are what bridge the gap between your intentions and your results. A system is a structure, a routine, a habit that removes the need for daily decision-making. When you build systems that make success automatic, you don't have to rely on your mood, your energy, or your environment to get things done. Most people struggle with follow through not because they lack goals, but because they lack systems. They think setting the goal is enough, but a goal is only a destination. A system is the vehicle that gets you there. If you want to lose weight, that's a goal. But what's your system? If you want to build a business, that's a goal. But what's your system? Without a system, goals become vague wishes that rarely turn into reality. The power of a system is that it eliminates friction. It reduces the number of choices you have to make. Because choice is exhausting, decision fatigue is real. When everything in your life requires active thought, you burn out fast. But when you create systems, when you decide how you'll act, you free up mental energy, you streamline your day, you execute on autopilot. Let's take an example. Say you want to work out every day. If your plan is to wake up and ask yourself, do I feel like going to the gym? You're already in trouble. You've left the door open for doubt. But if your system is to wake up, put on your gym clothes that are already laid out, grab your pre-packed bag, and go straight to the gym without thinking, you've removed the resistance. That's how systems work. They make the desired action the default action, and the best systems are the ones that don't give you a way out. They trap you in productivity. They lock you into momentum. When you build your environment around your goals, you create what some call a forcing function. That's a setup where success becomes the only reasonable outcome. For example, if you want to write a book, make it part of your system to write 500 words before checking email. Set up a workspace with 0 distractions. Block websites if you have to. Do whatever it takes to make writing easier than not writing. This isn't about discipline in the traditional sense. It's about designing your life so that taking action becomes the path of least resistance. It's easier to eat healthy when your fridge is full of real food and junk isn't in the house. It's easier to make sales calls when you've got a CRM system that reminds you and a script ready to go. Systems take away the question marks. They take away the excuses. They keep you moving even when your motivation runs dry. Systems also give you feedback. When you operate by a system, you can measure what's working and what's not. You can tweak the process instead of questioning your worth. If something doesn't work, it's not a sign that you're a failure. It just means you need to optimize the system. That mindset keeps you from getting emotionally derailed. It makes success logical, not personal. Another thing about systems, they create identity. The more you stick to a system, the more you start to see yourself as someone who is consistent, reliable, and productive. Your identity is shaped by your habits, and your habits are shaped by your systems. If your system is to read every morning, over time, you become a reader. If your system is to reach out to 10 leads every day, you become a closer. Identity follows action, and action follows systems. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You just need to install systems in the areas that matter most. One at a time. Start with your mornings, then move to your finances, then your fitness. Then your relationships, layer by layer, you build a life where progress is baked in. You stop hoping for growth and start guaranteeing it. Systems make success scalable. They make your efforts repeatable. And when you build the right systems, they don't just help you achieve one goal. They help you achieve every goal that follows. Treat your dream like a contract. That means stop treating it like a wish or a fantasy or something nice to have. A contract is binding. A contract has terms. A contract has consequences if you break it. That's how seriously you need to take your goals. When you sign a contract, you show up. Whether it's raining, whether you're tired, whether you feel like it or not. You show up because you said you would. That's the level of commitment your dream demands. People say they want to be successful, but they treat their dream like a casual agreement. They show up when it's convenient. They work on it when they feel inspired. They make excuses when life gets hard. That's not how contracts work. Imagine a surgeon saying, "I didn't feel like operating today." Or a pilot saying, "I wasn't in the mood to fly the plane." That would be unacceptable, right? Because those are professions where commitment is non-negotiable. Your dream should be no different. A dream treated like a hobby will always stay a hobby. A dream treated like a contract will become a reality. The difference is the level of seriousness you bring to the table. A contract means deadlines. It means deliverables. It means you track progress and hold yourself accountable. It means you stop negotiating with yourself about whether or not you're going to follow through. When you sign a contract with yourself, you remove the option to quit. You remove the option to procrastinate. You remove the option to lower your standards. You create a non-negotiable standard for yourself. You don't just try to succeed. You commit to success like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Your future depends on whether or not you execute on that dream. Contracts don't care about your emotions. They care about execution. When you sign a contract, the terms don't change just because you're having a rough day. You don't get to renegotiate just because you're overwhelmed or tired or discouraged. And that's why treating your dream like a contract is so powerful. It gives you a framework that is stronger than your feelings. It becomes a promise to yourself that you refuse to break. This mindset shift changes everything. It changes how you manage your time. You stop wasting hours on distractions and start protecting your schedule like it's sacred. You stop binge watching and start building. You stop scrolling and start executing. You begin to move with urgency because contracts have consequences, and if you're not moving with urgency, you're moving in circles. When you see your dream as a contract, you start measuring outcomes. You stop saying, "I'm working on it," and start asking, "What did I produce today?" You stop aiming for effort alone and start aiming for results. Contracts are performance-driven. They require that you show evidence that you're doing what you said you'd do. That forces clarity, that forces focus, that forces progress. The other thing about contracts is that they're built on integrity. You either have it or you don't. If you break a contract, that says something about your reliability. And when you constantly break contracts with yourself, confidence erodes. You stop believing in your own word. But when you keep those promises, when you say, "I'm going to do this," and then you do it, you become powerful. You become trustworthy in your own eyes, and that inner trust is what builds unshakable belief. Contracts also require sacrifice. You give something in exchange for something greater. You give up comfort for growth. You give up convenience for mastery. You give up short-term pleasure for long-term fulfillment. That's the trade-off, and most people aren't willing to make it. They want the reward without the responsibility, but a contract makes you responsible. It puts your name on the line. And finally, when you treat your dream like a contract,